Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical, where we talk about the mental, emotional, social, and at times spiritual benefits of exercise. We believe that exercise is more than movement, and this podcast is our attempt at sharing that message with the world by sharing our own as well as our guests' experiences and knowledge. If you enjoy it, we ask that you please spread the message by leaving a rating and review, or even better, by sharing with a friend.
Give it to you. Yeah, strong, give it to you. Don't give it to you.
I'm just looking back into the camera.
You're like death staring the camera.
Oh, and roll.
Man, please have my space, bro. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical. Joined here with Matt.
Hello, hello.
It's our first episode in the new location. What a time. It also sounds like someone's just walked into the gym, but I'm not going to turn around because I'm focused. But today we're going to touch a little bit on this equinox. Well, so 2 industry topics, and then we are going to go a little bit into the role of balance in achieving remarkable things. So I wanted Gideon to be on board for this one because he's typically an interesting opinion to have on the matter, but he's not here, so that's fine. We can always bring him on in the next. But in recent-ish news, this came out at the end of last month, so it's not that new, but pretty recent. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but the Equinox $40,000 a year membership. Did you hear about that?
You mentioned it to me, but not in fine detail.
So I don't have a huge amount of information on it because I don't subscribe to The Economist. So I only have the free like little tenth of an article. But I got the gist of it, which is that, and I quote, "In May, Equinox, a luxury gym, launched a membership that costs $40,000 per year, half the median household income in America, where the chain is based. The plan includes blood tests, a sleep coach, and a nutritionist, as well as access to the group's swanky clubs. Julia Klim of Equinox explains why people pay. You can buy a Chanel bag every year, but health and looking well is the ultimate luxury symbol." I thought that was quite an interesting viewpoint because, and I think it's interesting, but it can be a little bit of a downer in some ways, but because it makes health more expensive. But health is starting to become a luxury symbol, and people are investing in, instead of things like, well, not instead of, but on top of things like designer bags and clothing, being really healthy. And it's cool that that's becoming a sort of status symbol because it obviously puts more value on being healthy, which I think is a good thing. However, it obviously starts to create space for making exclusively priced health offerings, which I don't think is a very good thing. What's your take on it, Matt?
I personally think that, to agree with you, I think it's a good idea. I think that health needed to be and does still need to be, and it's good that it is being taken seriously. It's an interesting one because at the same time that we don't want to put any added value or you don't want to make it more expensive, like everything within the world is kind of increasing in price with inflation. So it only makes sense that something as valuable as like professional advice or expertise in health would increase as well. We can't keep downplaying it, which I guess we've all had our experience as trainers where people try and discount you for like sessions or packages, but there has to come a point where whatever the person that is giving you the assistance in that industry is getting the value for it, and then likewise you getting the value out of being part of that system. And I think it's cool that it's a yearly membership as opposed to like a month to month, because that means that whoever is paying for that is paying for accountability, is making that commitment for that year. And thereafter, once they build that habit, it's going to be the next year and the next year. And that's going to be passed down to the rest of their family and whoever they decide to get onto the membership as well. So I can only see positive things coming out of it for all those involved. We can always talk about the accessibility and obviously the entry level being a challenge, but you have to look at the benefit or you have to look at what it brings in terms of good, as opposed to looking at the negatives of that.
I also think that those businesses that are looking to offer these high-end kind of memberships would not be looking at the entry-level types of memberships anyway. So it's not actually as if because of the fact that you're getting this flagship offering that you're now not going to get
Yeah.
offerings around, your kind of Planet Fitness level $10 a month type thing. But it's still
The urge to look back.
to be honest, for me, my main takeaway is that as a society it's pretty cool that we're starting to put that kind of value on health and wellness, and I think that is it's a very promising trend.
Yeah.
And it's important, it's not only becoming part of conversations, but it's becoming part of businesses' bottom lines and what they're actually trying to lean into, which is that people
Yeah.
want to be healthy. And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for health in certain contexts to become a status symbol.
Yeah.
And I think that is a lot more beneficial to society than, for instance, luxury kind of, I don't know, experiences or clothing items or other sorts of goods. Not to bash those things, but I still think that as a society we'd probably benefit more from placing more value on health than on consumerism in the form
Yeah.
of products and
Yeah.
stuff that
Just to,
doesn't.
just to add on to that, I mean, I think the only thing that I would also like, I like the comparison because it puts things into perspective. And I think that's necessary for people to realize and then make that initial decision. But then going forward, I think a big thing that we have to look at is that health service is even more valuable than that price that they have given. Because if you take all the offerings that they provide within that bundled price, if you did that all separately, it would come out to double or triple the price. And then it would take you more time. Whereas you're paying one price upfront for all of those things to be guaranteed to be given to you, which I think is so valuable for like that certain target market that they are targeting. Because at the same time, people that could possibly afford that or look into that probably have busy lifestyles. They probably don't have a lot of time to do all these separate things like all over the place. So they're looking for a centered, sustainable membership that they can choose and kind of know that once they make the payment, everything will be kind of sorted out for them. So I think that's also a really cool thing about that.
Yes, for sure.
Like in the way that they created it, you know?
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, to put into context, the last time I checked, the dollar was at 17.66 to the rand. So let's just say dollar to rand. The date right now is the 15th of October, 17.59 rand to the dollar. So 17.59 times 40,000. That's 703,000 rand a year for that gym membership. I mean, that's nuts. That's like, that is on a different level. And I think I would love to actually see, now that they've released this thing,
What's the inside
what
of
is
that?
the actual, but what is the actual, how has this membership been moving? Has it actually been selling? How have they been kind of received? Are the people who are purchasing these memberships feeling like their expectations are being met? I'd love to see a follow-up article on that, because Equinox is a huge global chain,
Yeah.
or globally recognized brand, predominantly with their footprint in the US. So I doubt they would have moved into this or moved forward with this offering without substantial research.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're confident that
True.
members are going to buy it or people are going to buy it. So I'd love to see where things lead. And
I
I'm
wonder if
sure
there's like a criteria that you would have to do as an individual before even qualifying to purchase the thing.
that's a very
Like
good
that makes so
question.
much sense to have, because like you could possibly say that anyone could purchase it that could afford it, right?
Yes.
And with the possibilities that lie ahead of us in today's world, like if you put in the work and the time and you like make, like you're quite efficient with your work and you know how to be good with your finances, you could probably afford that, you know? So I wonder what's the onboarding process for that? Like how do they make sure that you even gonna benefit from that? Because as a business, if they sell that, how do they make sure that you don't turn around and say, okay, I would like a
Wasn't-
refund?
it wasn't
Because that's
worth
a
it.
massive loss then.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
going to have to
I
take.
wonder how they retain it.
I'm sure there is quite I would imagine there's quite a comprehensive screening and qualification process before they actually allow somebody to buy that. But I would imagine there are people within their ecosystem who have probably asked for a consolidated membership, because I
Yeah.
was speaking to a friend of mine who popped in now, and he's at Equinox, and he pays pays month to month. I think he pays $480 a month, or like $450 a month for his Equinox. And I mean, that's obviously a lot less
Yeah.
than $40,000 a year. But already, if you're in that bracket of consumer that can afford to pay 10,000 Rand almost a month for a
Yeah.
gym membership, you are, I would almost intuit that you're probably within that bracket as well, that's got the disposable income that you could maybe do, 20,000 Rand a month or something else.
Yeah.
And they have probably, I mean, you're very invested in your health then, literally and figuratively. So those are probably the kind of customers who are going to ask for a lot of things, and they're going to give you a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
And they probably received a whole bunch of information from customers that want these things, want blood work, want nutritional guidance.
Bless you. Boom.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Bless you.
So no, I'm sure they went into it very well informed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'd love to see a
That's
follow up.
exciting. It opens up a lot of opportunity, and I think it also it it has a it does well for fitness and wellness, just like business. How can I explain it now? Just in terms of influencing that kind of business aspect within this industry, because a lot of the times, like personally for me, when I came through, like a big thing that I heard a lot from like some trainers or some people around me is that like you must make it accessible, and you can't think about the money, or you must be passionate, and you must follow your passion. But at the same time, like as a senior trainer, or like someone that puts a lot of effort into being qualified and doing research and making sure you're giving the best sessions, you also need to take care of yourself at the end of the day. And I think it's about time that we kind of like prioritize talking more about the business side of things. Not saying that it's gonna affect anything from a quality control standpoint, but just to make it a bit like easier to talk about these things, because I feel like it's not spoken about enough almost.
I also
So,
think that you can have a lot more impact if you are economically secure. So if you establish yourself financially and you have the room to play, then you can have a lot more impact and give out a lot
exactly.
more free stuff
Exactly.
than if you're just doing that from the start. Like if you look at just one example at Bill Gates having built Microsoft and then doing his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, that would not have been possible if he wasn't a billionaire.
Yeah.
So it's like he's managed to touch millions of lives because he created financial freedom for himself.
Yeah.
And I think you can you can use capital and money as a lever to multiply your impact. So why not build that up and actually, help tons more people, as opposed to, and I mean, it's difficult to kind of quantify what is one life worth versus millions of lives. But for me, like on paper, if you could impact and help 100 people as opposed to one,
Yeah.
help 100 people.
Yeah. True.
And especially if you can do it to the same degree, when you're just multiplying your reach, which typically money allows you to do. So it's taking a bit of a longer term view on it, which I think is really important. But
Massive.
in terms of that, it's then you can still do that. You still can make it accessible.
Yeah.
But on to the next little news segment. And this is from our favorite FitInsider. And this is based on a study by ASICS, actually. And this is speaking about desk jobs and how they require activity breaks. So the study found that 4 straight hours seated at a desk increases stress by 18%. Workers taking a 15-minute movement break improve mental state by 22.5%. A week of daily breaks boosts productivity by 33%, focus by 28%, and resilience by 28%. And a separate report showed workers who trade smartphone doom scrolling for 30 minutes of exercise significantly lowered depression and heightened willpower.
Wow.
Heads down work has limits, and by stepping away for a quick walk or workout must become part of the normal 9 to 5. So I think the big one that jumped out at me was the doom scrolling thing.
Yeah.
And that I am super guilty of. I doom scroll often.
As we all do.
But I find that my favorite thing to try and combat doom scrolling is reading. I always carry a book around, or like 99% of the time. And if I have, because to be honest, a cell phone is almost like a cigarette. It's not like it's not just the dopamine high, it's the ritual of fiddling with something.
Yes.
So if you have something else in your hand, it makes it a lot easier to avoid that habitual scrolling,
Yes, yes.
where you've got this paperback book in your hand and you're still paging through, you're reading something, it's close, it feels exactly as
Yeah.
if you were on your phone, but it's not as indulgent from a sensory point of view. It's just you're kind of taking information in. And I think that's important because like that article said, it helps with willpower because it becomes like an impulse where you're like, oh, I've got this impulse to scroll on my phone, and you pull your phone out, and it's kind of like that journey you take to the fridge sometimes where you're like, you go to the fridge, you get to the fridge, you open the fridge, and you're like, what am I doing here? Like, why did I come here?
Yeah.
And then you close it and you walk and go do what you do. I get that with my phone all the time.
Mm.
But that specifically as well, what I thought was really interesting was the taking those little micro breaks and how that helps improve productivity. Because I do love like a big chunk of focus time for sure. But I also found, especially when I was working my desk job, that my productivity was significantly better when I'd get up every 60 minutes and go for like a 5 to 7 minute walk up and down the
Yes,
hallway.
yes.
Like that was super beneficial. I'm not sure if you have any memory of like when you were a student or if you do any admin work, how you break
Yeah.
down your focus time.
I think the biggest thing that has stayed with me, like I was talking to a few friends of mine about this and my girlfriend, but it's like I still to this day I cannot type out programs. I can only write them out because that gives me the most stimulation to like be creative and like um kind of really commit to being in the zone. Whereas like if I'm on my laptop, I just get so distracted, and I don't feel the same like it's almost like I don't feel the exercises going together. It's so weird. But I started writing out my programs in full when I was like a student and when I was in college. Even though it was like practice ones, and to this day it stayed with me. And I think like that is also just like the feel of something that is not so like overstimulating in terms of like a phone or like a laptop or like just like being in front of a screen, because I tried all the other things with typing on my laptop. Um, I mean, in terms of that aspect, for me, it's always been nice to have like you said, like a paperback or have something like a hardcover that you can walk around and be like, I've put my work in this. I haven't put it in like a cloud that I can't open up and see anytime. I don't have to like have any waiting time. And then in terms of the ASICS campaign, I think it's amazing. It's something that I've preached to all my clients and everyone that I know all the time. Just the fact of like, if you have like a 15 or 30-minute break, just like get up and do some movement. And everyone's like, yeah, of course, I have to do some movement. But like, it's so underrated. The feeling that it gives you after doing it consistently is almost like freedom. So it's like you can get up from this space, whether you work remotely or whether you work at your workspace. Make sure that you're efficient with your work, finish up that task that you have to do, take that break, fully treasure it, like think to yourself, disconnect completely and think about what you want to do and take the time to think about things that you've always wanted to get done. And that's like your time. But if you don't take that break, you'll never have your time if you think of it in that way. So you'll always be just at work doing what work has like lined up for you, and that can often feel like a repetitive act. Whereas if you are constantly taking a break and thinking about all the things that you would like to do in your personal time, in your personal capacity, you're always going to change those ideas. Your ideas are going to evolve day to day. You're going to develop those ideas. It might even come to life, which is even more amazing. So then you might not even be in that same space that you are. Not saying that people should leave their jobs, but I'm just saying, like, if your ambition is to be in a different spot, then why not take the opportunity that you can to manifest that and to put things into action within the time that you get away from work,
Totally.
And like I think about my journey thus far in this industry, but that's something that I've done subconsciously in different spaces of my life. Like I know that when I started off as a PT, I wasn't doing PT like at the time. I was still studying it, but I worked retail. But in that retail space, I would always try and think of ways that I could use my current environment and simulate me being in like a gym. Like, what are the things that I need to do if I'm a PT? I need to be good at speaking to people. I need to be okay with like displaying myself, like on the floor. I need to be kind of aware of myself, and am I neat, am I presentable, how am I talking, how am I approaching clients? Like, those are small things, and people always used to be like, oh, you're taking it so seriously. And it's so funny because I always think about this one thing that happened in when I was coaching at schools. But every time I went to coach at schools, I had a notebook with me, like I'm going on the gym floor, and I have a full routine that I'm going to do with like kids in grade 4. And people were like, why are you walking around in the notebook? But I'm like, preparation is like so important to me, and to this day I still have that with my clients. And it's amazing just to think, like, now that I reflect on it, how it's like transferred into that. But it doesn't come from an overnight thing. It comes from like taking that few minutes a day when you can to practice what you really want out of life, and then it happens. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's what I think when I think of that campaign, and taking that time out of work or out of a desk job to treat yourself and to kind of like let your imagination flow and let it feed you. And that's how you can stay energized, as opposed to not giving yourself that because you think you don't deserve that.
It
But
can,
that's only because you're staying in that environment.
it can also give you a different perspective on whatever problem you're working
So
on
true.
at work, where you go and you take that 5 or 10 minute break time and then you walk or you do
See the
whatever,
bigger picture.
and you see the bigger picture and you come back and you're like, okay, cool, I've got an idea of how I want to do this. I had that exact experience yesterday after that meeting I had at about, what is it, 4 or something. I don't know what time it was. But
Yes.
then when I went to Engine to go and do something, and I purposefully left my book behind, I just kind of let my thoughts run. I had a shift in perspective, and that actually helped me in terms of what I was trying to think through
Yeah.
after that meeting. But speaking about ASICS and breaks, I want to take a quick break to direct you all down to the link in bio or description. We've got our Run Strong Horizon Gym Strength Training for Runners workshop happening on the 26th of October. That is the weekend after the Cape Town Marathon, which is this weekend, by the way.
Let's go.
Matthew's competing
I'm there.
against himself. I'm competing against myself. And a bunch of our running community is going to be there. We are a space that holds strength training dear. We're very aware of the benefits and the freedoms it allows us in terms of exploring exercise. So we thought, why not share that with you guys? We're having an event, as I said, on the 26th of October, and that's going to be from 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock. It's a workshop. There are optional demos that are there are demos that have an optional interactive element, so it's not a workout, it's a workshop. Don't stress if you're fatigued, if you can't train, just come and watch and learn. We'll also be distributing our strength training for runners guides thereafter, which will empower you and allow you to be able to implement all of the lessons you learn on the day by yourself. We've also got 22,000 rands worth of prizes that we'll be giving away. ASICS is giving away 2 pairs of performance shoes, one for males, one for females. We're going to be giving away up to a 6-month membership to the gym, an all-inclusive membership, and then 13 Nutrition is going to be giving away 2, I think, gift hamper box things. So we've got lots of prizes,
wow.
we've got lots of value, and we have got lots of excitement for that event that's coming up. So head on over to Quicket, the link's in our bio, get your ticket there whilst we've still got availability, and let us know if you've got any questions.
Yeah. See you there.
Back to the show. But no, I think in terms of taking breaks away, it's vital, and I mean it's something that we see time and time again in our little team here. Especially when you guys are cross-functional. It's like we are all doing multiple jobs. We're all very stimulated, and our work is unconventional. And to us, I think break times are kind of they kind of the need for them and the necessity for them creeps up on you in quite an elusive way, because we're all passionate about our work. You kind of miss when you need to take a break, because it's like,
So
shit,
true.
you know, I'm enjoying this so much. When do you dial it back? But obviously with time you learn when to do that, and I think micro breaks are really important. And before we kind of touch on the element of what the role of balance in doing remarkable things is, because that touches on breaks a little bit as well. I want to see how you're doing for your Cape Town Marathon this week. it's taper week.
Yeah.
It's time to take it easy. What kind of reflections have you got on your prep?
I
Where's your
am.
mind at? Where's your body at? How's your knee feeling?
Yeah,
What are
it's
you
feeling
most
good.
excited for? What are you most nervous for? A
It's
lot of
feeling good.
questions.
I think it's a lot of emotion for me going into this marathon. Just because I think about I was thinking about it this morning, and I was thinking about my journey when I started running, and that was obviously when my dad passed, and like when he was in hospital, I started doing it, not because I wanted anything out of it, but just because I needed to channel that. And it makes you so emotional thinking about like here I am now at this point committing to something that I never thought that I would be able to do, but I don't feel any ounce of fear in my body. I just feel like I'm gonna go and enjoy it, and it's such a blessing to like be able to channel that and to like feel that power. And I want everyone to feel that, like in movement. I want everyone to be able to like have that capability to do something, because it shouldn't feel impossible to you. Um, if you really want something out of it, and it just makes me think like, obviously this has happened to me in my life now, but it just shows me that I was always capable of it. And obviously through what I've been through, it's brought it out. But it just makes me think like, what else am I capable of? And it makes me it makes me so excited for what life has to offer. And I'm just super excited for the marathon, super excited for the vibe. I'm just gonna enjoy it when I go out. I have no exact goal in mind. I just want to be comfortable, injury free, and yeah, I just want to be able to be there to support others, to be part of the movement, and yeah, hopefully this is my first of many. So yeah.
That's amazing. I think it's so cool that you've got the connection to it that is more than movement. It's
Mm.
literally that connection to your dad's passing and channeling that energy and turning that into something incredible like
Yeah.
running a marathon. And it is a special event. I think you've picked a really good one
Mm.
as your first one. Cape Town Marathon is a really cool event, and the atmosphere is electric. Like I literally have goosebumps. Like
Yeah.
speaking about it, it's
gonna be crazy.
it's my favorite marathon for sure. And obviously going for that World Abbott's kind of rating so that we can actually be on the world circuit. Um, but no, it's cool to know that you've anchored it in something that transcends and goes above the actual activity.
Yeah.
It's deeper than that. And I think when you embark on a challenge like running a marathon, it's very important to stay connected to that why, because there are going to be moments in the event that you question why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's I think I've run one marathon where I didn't have a why am I doing this moment, and that was the one that I did with Claire a couple of weeks after the 100 miler,
Yes.
the Neisner marathon,
Man.
where I really just like took it super slow. I walked a lot. I took it really easy, and that was still very uncomfortable at times. But I didn't have a like, why am I doing this thing? I don't know why, but every other marathon I've had, and maybe you have that same experience, but typically you get to a point where you're like, this is hectic.
Yeah, like
why-
you feeling all of this, yeah.
like why am I like what was the whole point of deciding to bring myself to this
Yeah.
state? But what I spoke to one of my other clients about was that realization of that state of why did I do this? This is really uncomfortable. That's the point of the marathon.
Yes.
That is the reason. Like it's not. Yes, it's to connect with your dad. Yes, it's to channel your energy. Yes, it's to unlock and discover the limits and your capabilities. But more than that, it's really about connecting with how you move through suffering.
No,
Because
true.
as you would have experienced in losing your dad, there's no other moment or event in life that teaches you more about yourself than deep visceral pain.
Yeah, like why did this
There's-
happen? What's going on?
Yeah, it's like almost like it completely rocks you.
Yeah.
And then you really start to become introspective and think about yourself and think about how you exist in the world, because your whole world gets shifted. Where it's
Yeah.
like there's this pillar, there's this person that is like core to your existence. You know, every moment that you've lived has been almost in relation to this person because they've been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
So it just takes you through this like, washing machine of like emotion and introspection and pain and like eventual triumph because you move through it, and it's like a really weird experience.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what the marathon does. It's just like it fucks you up. It takes you to this point where you're like, oh my days, like what is this? Like, what is going on here? And then it's like this moment of learning, of like
Yeah.
self-discovery, of okay, I've kind of transcended the physical, the
Yeah.
non-physical.
So now you're just like floating there, but your
And you're
body's
just
still
like,
running.
dude,
Like,
this is like a weird, like really hard, like what is the? I remember I was in that headspace when Mark was skateboarding next to me last year at Cape Town Marathon, and he's
Yeah.
like, was he getting the shot? Spencer's holding out a carrot cake. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with a carrot cake? And you're just like in this like weird space, but it's so beautiful. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for you to experience that.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what makes me so almost like what is the word? Kind of like a Jehovah's Witness of exercise.
Yeah.
Because it's like once you experience that, you've got to share that.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
you've got to share
And
that.
it's an amazing thing to see the next person like just experience it.
Yeah.
There we
No,
go.
it's
And
super cool.
yeah, and to add on to that, I think that's also like a big why falls in like for me to do all these things. Like I know that when I signed up for it, I know the biggest thing was I was like, am I really sure about this? And then when I think deeper, I think about like pushing myself to that point, and I think about like the reflection that you get out of it. And I think the reflection that you get out of that process, as you said, is actually where all the magic lies. And to be honest, since my dad has passed, I don't think like nothing compares to that moment. But there's stuff that like takes you close to the way
Yes.
how you feel in that moment, and I think I'm hunting that. Like, I want to be in that space. I want to reflect. I want to be feeling like something similar to how I felt then, but now I'm at a stronger point where I've been able to overcome it. Like and
That's so interesting
and
you
he
say that,
said,
bro.
and like, before my dad passed, he told me, no, you will overcome this. You will be okay. But in my moment then, not knowing what I'm gonna do, I was like, how will I overcome it? How will I know that I've overcome it? How will I know what is my milestone? And I think that this is my milestone. Like doing it to the point that like I have to really reflect and dig deep is the moment that I can say, look, I've overcome it. I've overcome it, and this is my check-in. And I'll see you the next time at the next event or the next thing that I take on in life. And
It's
I think that's
interesting.
so exciting for me.
It is exciting. And I think what you said about seeking something that takes you close to that is it's poignant, and it's also very relatable, because I
Yeah.
can remember, I think it was 3 to 4 weeks after, whenever the initial like heavy sadness started to
Yeah.
subside of my mom's passing, where I had this weird thing where I was like, oh no, I must be sad.
Yeah.
I
Like you don't want to lose
want to
that.
lose that
It's the
feeling.
only thing that's associated.
Yes.
And like the person isn't physically there anymore. So now you're like, I can't stop the memory. Like that's all I have now. Obviously, you have the other memories, and everyone will tell you have the other memories, and you do, and that's perfectly okay. But it's what you've experienced and what you felt and what has stood out to you. Because the person, like for example, with my dad, like the person that I experienced like in that last few moments was like who he really was, like without any influence of the world.
All the layers were off. He was
Beautiful,
vulnerable.
amazing. Like, and that taught me so much of life. And I wish that I had that for more. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like you're gone now. But such a blessing.
Yes.
And you want to be close to that all the time. And you must do it. And what I've learned after doing that is you must do it like in a way that it's sustainable, because you can burn out chasing that. So it's like finding meaningful things to do it and then get to that point. You know?
I can also remember, and it's such a strange, I don't know, the only word I think of when I try and describe that episode, which I don't think ever truly ends, because you just relate to that experience
Yeah.
of losing a loved one in a different way, but it definitely becomes more manageable. But I remember, continuing on what you were saying about that beautiful kind of seeing your dad in that, or experiencing your dad in that kind of unlayered way, a little bit of a different one. But I remember the night my mom passed away, so that she passed away midday-ish, like late morning, and then that evening I lay in bed and I was like,
Wow.
okay, I'm gonna like connect with how this feels fully. I'm not gonna like brave it out or anything, and like put in some sad music, and I was like by myself
Yeah.
in my host. So it was Francesca and her then boyfriend, now husband Mark's place in Chelsea, and I lay down in the guest room on the bed, and like I cried and stuff, and I just lay there, and I was like, this like overwhelming like weird like body high overcame me, and I was like, I've never felt so alive
Yeah.
like in this moment.
Yes.
Than in this moment. I was like, I feel so much right now that it's like just visceral kind of livingness. I was like, this is just like so crazy, and I also obviously it's so heavy and upsetting,
Yeah.
but it's also like that thing again of like I hope I don't lose connection to this feeling, because that is like my mom's spirit almost.
Yeah.
And again, to bring us back to like the whole more than movement beyond physical element of exercise for us is like there are very rare instances in your life that you can replicate that for brief moments. And I think for me and for you as well, one of the ways that we've figured out that that can be replicated is by going into an unknown space
Yeah.
physically, where you are now exploring pain in a different way than you've ever experienced it, or you're exploring a challenge that you haven't explored before. And it opens up a bunch of just cool insights, and sometimes, you know, for me often it takes me to like a conversation I've had with my mom.
Yes.
And it's kind of weird because I have this short phrase or mantra, if you want to call it that. When I get to what I feel is that point, I tell myself, we're here now. Like this is okay. We've
Yeah.
kind of gotten into that zone. Let's try hang out here for as long as possible. And we're here now. And like this is the point.
That's amazing.
And you reframe that challenge. And I
Yeah.
think that's why like, you know, and it almost makes it kind of seem insane where I'm like, I love this shit. Like I love
Yeah.
how horrible this is, but I'm not like, it's not even like, it's not a lie. Like I do.
Yeah.
Like I literally like,
Yeah.
it's like, cause I feel connected to something bigger, which is like the spirit of my
You know,
mom or
to add
whatever.
to that, like the way I can sum up losing a parent is almost like your mental capacity like advances so much. Like or going through any type of adversity, like any type of big traumatic event, like your mental capacity advances like so much ahead, and then it's like physically you can't keep up with that, but it's still going, it's just going day by day, and you try and think like what could I do that could keep up with this or help me reflect in the same mindset. And it's pushing yourself to what you enjoy most, and pushing yourself sustainably in what can give you back that reflection or that moments for reflection. And that's just the way that I sum up my mind every day, because it's just moving all the time, because it's looking to find things for me to do. And when you follow it like in that sense, like I always think of it like when I say to my close friends or family, I'm like, if I ask you a question, the first answer you give me is the one you want to, so give me that answer. Or if you ask yourself a question, the first answer you give yourself is the one you should do, so do it. You know, because your mind knows what you don't know yet in the physical form. Like we are spiritual beings, like we move we move way before we actually physically move there. And I think
True.
that's the magic of like the capabilities that we have, same as manifestation. You know, you manifest something, and when you move to that place, like it's already been manifested, so it happens. Now you must just be ready and then go to the next thing.
Yes.
So yeah, just magic.
I think
Magic.
further reflecting on that, when you talk about the mental side of dealing with adversity and loss, I think maybe for me why I gravitate towards those unknown physical challenges is because, and if you look here at my the first tattoo I got is a mother bear watching over the cub. And the cub has got like it's got its head up and it's looking around.
Yeah.
That's my mom and that's me. And
Yes.
I'm looking and navigating life and she's watching over me and
Yes.
guiding me. And I think because she was my kind of like overwatcher, guider, protector
Yeah.
vibe, when I go into unknown circumstances, I immediately connect with her.
Oh, it's
I
beautiful.
because I go, what would she say? Like what would her
Yeah.
what would her advice be? And I think that doing that in physical instances is, for me, it's a low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Because obviously with you as well, because you've had years of experience in physical training, you can do it safely and you can do it in a way that, you know, is kind of controlled to some degree. And it's beautiful and it's cool because you can do it in other spaces. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be physical.
Yes, no, true.
But taking yourself into that space where you need guidance, where you question why you're doing it, it immediately goes to, okay, I need some sort of guidance. Who do I go for
And then you get the
guidance to?
boost.
It's
It's
the parent
amazing.
or the person that was there and no longer is, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm connected to them. That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
But you see,
It's an
like,
out of body experience.
it is,
I
it
think
is.
I think that's just simply put, it's an out of body experience. And like, as much as we try and explain it, every experience that you get with it's different.
It is.
And that's
And
amazing.
I think what's so cool as well about your marathon that you're doing now is like it's bringing up this checkpoint for you to reflect.
Yeah.
And maybe you weren't expecting that going into it, but it's
No, I
bringing you
wasn't.
here anyway because it's
Yeah.
a significant thing that you're doing. And I think you're gonna smash it. You're gonna move
Mm.
through it as you want to. My one bit of kind of my unsolicited 2 cents, or actually it is solicited because I'm technically your coach, is just respect the marathon.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all.
definitely.
It's like no matter what, prepare more than you think you should,
Mm.
and respect the marathon. It will probably get hard at some point,
Yeah.
and it can surprise you, but that's normal. That's life,
Mm.
and you roll with that, and enjoy every moment because that
Yeah.
energy is palpable when you're standing there in the starting
Yo,
shoot of Cape Town
It's
Marathon.
gonna be
And
unreal.
they're literally going to be like 18,000 people there, and you're obviously going out in your batches, but you're going to be pitching up on the Sunday morning. There's a buzz about, people are getting their stuff ready, people are going, taking their last minute poos,
Yeah.
queuing at the portaloos, like standing there. It's going to be awesome, bro. Like, it's going to be so cool, and it's going to actually go quicker than you want it to go.
Yeah, and like, last thing before, I don't know if we're gonna move on to another topic after this, but like, I remember the half marathon, and I'll never forget. And that's why I respect running so much, and I like it, because no matter how much prep you put into it, the morning I woke up on that half marathon, I like, everything just dropped, and I was like, "What am I doing?" Like, I never felt that for anything that I've done before. I've never felt that way. And I think that, like, for something to take away everything and put you in a place where you actually have to, like, have a lot of humility, because I had to obviously get myself back to the night before, where I'm like feeling confident, I'm ready, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. And then next morning, on the day, you wake up and everything's just taken away. And I think that's the beauty of it. So now you're building blocks, putting yourself together. Like, I was, I was like choosing, what am I gonna wear? Like, putting it on there, putting this, like, the flipping the pins in. I was like, I took the race number off, I put it on something else. I was like, no, it can't be this. I was like leaving stuff all around, but like, that's the beauty of it. And I'll always like the process more than the actual thing. And I think if you respect the process, you'll always respect what you're gonna do. And that's what I see it as. I see it as a process, as part of the next stage of life for me. So I'm excited for it. Yeah.
And speaking of the process of the next stage of life, we probably won't touch that much on this
Yeah.
topic, but that's fine. We'll have a build on.
We'll give a little
But
teaser.
this morning when I had coffee with Claire, I spoke to her about this podcast series I've been listening to. I've been binging it big time, actually. Founders Podcast. I always forget the actual host's name. He's a very passionate dude, and basically he uses the biographies and autobiographies, essentially the lives of what he deems to be history's greatest entrepreneurs, to map out what those stories are like and what the commonalities are, what the common threads are from one person to the next. And something that I identified with, or just kind of figured out over the past few months of listening to the podcast, was that most of these entrepreneurs are very wounded people.
Yeah.
And they have gone through some very significant, either traumatic or loss related thing in their life, and that has then been channeled into creation and building and doing stuff that they can just put all of their focus into. And I said to Claire, I find that really interesting. It's quite and I wonder what that's about. Is it control? Is it a chip on the shoulder? Like, what is that? But it's a very common thread, is
Yeah.
like all of them have. And as you were saying, like with your loss, it elevates you mentally to some other sort of level. I think that's what they have experienced
Yeah.
too. And the one, I mean, it sounds fully positive, but the one drawback with that, and tying into another element of our conversation around knowing when to rest when you're passionate, is it throws them a little bit out of
No,
what
it
we would
does.
consider to be
Yeah.
a balanced state. And that is the conversation that I want to go deep in on with you and Gideon, because I support that notion of, in order to do something actually remarkable. And the last time we chatted about this, Mark was actually there.
Yeah.
You abandon the idea of balance because
Yeah.
that's what it seems to require. And who was I chatting to about this? It was Jason in the sauna on Sunday. We were speaking about Chris Bumstead, and we were speaking about, so Chris Bumstead's just won the Classic Olympia for the 6th time. And he had some sort of reflection a month or so ago, or maybe it was actually a year ago. Chris Bumstead reflected on this, and he said, I haven't been seeing my friends, I haven't been going to social events, I haven't been this, I haven't been that, but that's kind of like the price you pay
Yeah.
to be the best. And Matthew Frazier as well, the 4-time, I think, CrossFit Games champion, he also spoke about how he hadn't gone to like a barbecue in I don't know, years, or, you know, and a lot of his relationships had kind of dipped off apart from the one with his partner. And he said that's the price of being the best. And then there
True.
was also Michael Phelps, who basically strung together, I'm going to butcher the figure, but it was a 5-year streak, every day of which he spent in the pool training. And that's fucked up, man. That's like unhealthy levels of obsession.
Yeah.
But those are, in their various fields, the best ever. Like there's
Goats.
and the thing is, it's like, for me, it's so clear that that's what you've got to do,
Yeah.
whether you want to
I
or
mean,
not.
even Michael Jordan.
Yeah, no,
like,
Michael Jordan as well. Last
docu-series,
Dance, it's the next
unreal.
level.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of like, do you want that? Like most people don't, because like it's
Yeah.
not worth it. Like, do you really want to lose
Yeah.
your childhood best friend because you're keen to like win some sort of medal or whatever? It's
Yeah.
like, no, like most people don't want that, and that's
Yeah.
completely normal.
No, true.
But I feel like it's so difficult from the perspective of someone who does want to create like a conventionally balanced life to compete with someone who's like willing to just myopically focus
Yeah.
on their thing.
You know, to add on to that, I think when you're looking at people that want to be really successful, one thing that I've reflected on in my pursuit for that, or my pursuit to elevate my life and everything that I want, to achieve everything that I want, I always think about like all the sacrifices that come with it. Like you hear about all these social party sacrifices, or not doing these things or not doing that. But then you also think about it in further detail, and you're like, if I really needed that, I would have been there. And if I'm not there and it doesn't change anything, then did I really need that? Did it really benefit me? You know, because I think that when you're pushing for success, or when you go down all the way to the 1%, and you look around, at what's still left with you, that's actually all you need. So if you still have your partner, if you still have your close family, like your kids or your parents or your immediate like support group around you, and you can take care of them, and that's what you need to balance, as long as along with what you're passionate with. That's all you really need in life, because that's
Sure.
all you need to take care of. You need to take care of yourself, the people that you love and that are close to you, and whatever you love.
But that's your definition
what I
of
mean?
success. So
And
that's a very important thing
and it's
to.
changed since the last time we spoke, because I also came across and I said, no, you need to have balance with everything. But that's also coming from if you look at it from different angles, you're always gonna have a different answer. And that's why it's such a complex topic, you know. But
Yes.
from that pursuit of success, that's what I always think of. As long as the immediate people around me are fine, and I give them what they deserve from me, and like they give me what I deserve from them, then everything is all good, and I can continue, right?
You also don't have
You know what I
to.
mean?
You also don't have to buy into. You don't have to buy into the conventional idea of success,
Yeah.
and you don't have to buy into the conventional idea of balance.
Yes, it's whatever works for
Whatever
you.
works for you, whatever's
Yeah.
fulfilling you, bringing you enjoyment, and ticking the boxes in terms of what your definitions of those things are.
Yeah.
You know, that's cool, because, for instance, one of the books I read this year was That'll Never Work, the Netflix autobiography by their first CEO and co-founder, Mark Randolph. And at the end of the book, he spoke about how he had built this incredibly financially successful business, and he was now, at the point where he'd never had to work a day again in his life, and
Wow.
he created like generational wealth and all this all these typically viewed, these things that one would say, that indicates success. And he said, my greatest success throughout this whole Netflix journey was improving my family life
Yeah.
whilst building this business. And for me, that was such a cool paradigm shift, where his priority was, of course, building an impactful business, but core to that, and fundamental to that even being a thing for him, was his family.
Yeah.
And it was like, nothing actually really matters if he doesn't maintain that part of it. And that's a lot of the time an area that you see quote unquote successful people slipping up on, is they neglect their spouse, or they neglect their kids, or they don't actually make a relationship with their kids. And by the time their kid's 15, now they've got some financial freedom, so they try and kind of be more hands-on.
Yeah.
But the kid is not so happy with you, and they don't want to hang out with you. So I feel like, and each to their own, but I feel like that definition or that reflection from Mark Randolph hit home for me, because I was like, that is really cool. It's like, you get to build this beautiful family, or like nurture this beautiful family, and like share your life with them.
Yes.
And
that
then
journey.
do stuff that's impactful, and bring them along the journey of like doing impactful stuff, whatever impactful means for you.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. But then again, I think it's so incredible, like what Michael Phelps did. I don't know anything about his personal life. What Fraser and Bumstead have done, I think it's like super cool. And it's really remarkable. And we need people like that to kind of
To lead the way.
to lead the way and show us what we're actually capable of. Because that's, I think, what the importance of an unbalanced person in society is. It's like, it's an Elon Musk who's got 11 children and doesn't have a secure family life, but has shown us what we thought to be impossible to be possible, which is re-landing a rocket.
Yeah.
Like that's nuts. It's like, commercializing EVs. It's these kinds of things that we previously thought, no, that's not really. We had our glass ceiling, but he went and he pioneered that. And that's
now it's like opening up more doors.
Opens it up.
So,
no, I wouldn't want his life, probably.
Yeah.
Would I be capable of achieving that? I don't know. So maybe it's not even a consideration, but it's like those people are super important.
Yeah.
And we can't also, I feel like we're also very quick to judge those kinds of people, where we're like, oh, that's a terrible life. He's got no family, whatever. Maybe that's what he wants, maybe he doesn't give a shit.
The thing is, like, when you look at these people, I mean, I know like Chris Bumstead and Matt Fraser, like, when you look at what they have to say or read their books, it's not like they're saying that the lifestyle's amazing. So they're very honest about it and transparent. So they're actually giving you insight into what it would be if you had to embark on that. And the cool thing about that is you can learn, and you can be like, what if I did this differently to them? And then you still come out to be successful, but now you haven't sacrificed this one thing that they regret sacrificing. And then you create a new example for the next generation. You know what I mean? And I think that's the beauty of it. I think more people need to look at it in that way, as opposed to just like looking at this person, they're successful, word, like it doesn't make any sense for them. Like, take what you can from them, like learn from their mistakes, and like appreciate the value that they're giving. Because like when they're not putting out books, when they're not putting out content, when they're not putting out information, you're gonna be looking for it, and then when you can't get it, it's gonna be like, I should have taken it when I had it, that kind of thing.
True.
So
that is true. And
awesome.
I think we've come to our time limit here. Well, not limit, but what we
access denied.
What we usually kind of cover time-wise. But everyone who's running the Cape Town Marathon, massive good luck. Everyone
All the
who's
best.
going to be supporting, thank you in advance. You make the event. The atmosphere is very much owing to those people who get up early in the mornings, either stand on their balconies or in their front garden, or just come out and shout on the pavement. You make the vibe, so thank you.
Immaculate vibes.
We look forward to catching you all in the next episode. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the show, guys. We love answering specific questions. So if there's anything you want to know, leave a comment or reach out to us directly at HorizonZA on Instagram, or email us at movement@horizongym.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Seb Prentice, and this is Beyond Physical.